Hello viewers, and welcome to another edition of Reminiscences. This time from Kaduna. We're in the home of Alhaji Lema Jibril, the Dangian Kasana, who many of you will know has been a very successful businessman, industrialist, politician. We're here to ask him what lessons he's learned in this long and accomplished life. Let me start with your background. Your biography says you were born in Malumfashi.
No, it is wrong.
So can we clarify why you started your early life? So
I started school in Malumfashi.
Oh, it's schooling, right. So looking at you, somebody is tempted to think that you might even not be from Nigeria. You look like somebody who could be from Mauritania or Western Sahara. I mean, the fair complexion.
Your color is almost the same as mine. Very little difference, if any. Not at all. Yes, my mother was Fulani, definitely. And my father was, what do you call this, Maiduguri?
So it's from Maiduguri area?
Yes.
You attended the elite schools of those days, Kasana College, and I think later on Bariwa College. What was the experience like to be in those schools?
Well, alhamdulillah, I really didn't think any different. I didn't know there were elite colleges, in my days. It's only later that I discovered, like what you said, they are the top. Well, Kasana College are the oldest in northern Nigeria. And incidentally, my father was the first teacher in Kasana College. He was the very first teacher, because my father went to Dan Hausa School in Kano in 1908. And when he finished, he came and started teaching in Kasana College.
In Barewa?
Well, Barewa is the only college in the entire northern region in those days, except Kefi. They are the only secondary schools. And now you find some states with 60 secondary schools or even more. So education has gone a long way. In my days, it's only Barewa and the Kefi secondary school.
So how did you manage to get admission into that kind of competitive place?
To gain admission?
Yes.
Is by competition. You sit for examination, and only those at the top are selected to go. And I was fortunate to be among them.
Can you remember some of your classmates of those days?
Very much so. Very much so. In Kasana, we were together with Bala Adamu, who is from Malumfashi, but he came to school in Kasana. And Saeed Barida, who was a former governor in Kasana State. Ali Saulawa. I think there's only 9 of us. We started 40, they have all died.
There are only 9 left?
9 alive.
9?
Yes.
Out of 40?
48.
48?
Yes. And the college, Kaduna College, of course, as you rightly pointed out, it was the only college in the northern state except Kefi. So only those who have made it will go to that. There was even no alternative. You are either there or you are not.
You also had the advantage of going abroad early for education in the UK. How did that happen?
I worked for the Ministry of Agriculture when I left to college, Barewa. I started there, and I don't know the selection process. They selected me to go to England, Harvard Adams Agricultural University. So I was fortunate. I don't know the criteria they used to select me to go and gave me scholarship. It's later that I found is through hard work and dedication. I didn't know the background at all, really. I was told to come and go to college in England.
You were very young then. How was it coping in England? Just straight from the north, you find yourself...
It was a very difficult transition because first and foremost, the weather. Fundamentally different from what I'm used to. Fortunately, with time, I became adapted to the weather. You have to wear thick clothing, all wrapped up. I had to do that. And then gradually I got used to it. Because I was there first 4 years. I came back, I think I worked for 2 years, and then I went back for another 2 years.
The same college?
The same college.
You also went to the US for courses, is it shortly after that?
No, I went to US on what they call Eisenhower scholarship, fellowship rather. Out of 48 states, I visited 44. It was like a traveling scholarship. I visited 44 states in America. In fact, they provided me with a car, and we spent 3 days mapping from coast to coast.
Right. What year was that?
I think it was 1974 or 76.
So tell us about your career in the civil service. You in the northern Nigerian civil service, in the livestock sector. It seems you were in all the significant projects and programs of agriculture.
Well, I started in the Ministry of Agriculture. I was posted to Mando Road, started in virology lab. So I know all about this COVID, some 50 odd years ago. I was in Mando Road, which is the virology lab, when I was selected to go to England. So when I came back, it was livestock, specializing in poultry husbandry and poultry technology. It's quite an interesting time because there was discipline in those days. You have to do exactly what you are told. You have to do it with dedication. Because in those days, the Europeans that were our teachers, especially since college, Barewa College in Zaria, I think we had only 3 indigenous teachers. All the rest were British. And they instilled discipline. Fortunately, I grew up with discipline from my own home because my father was an alkali. And so I was brought up with discipline right from the word go. And I'm glad I did because it serves me later in life.
You rose to be the chief livestock officer of the northern region?
Not only in the north, I was the chief development officer for all Nigeria at one time. Of course, I started with the north, so I know the north very well. And we have to travel to all the 12 provinces in those days. And I helped establish a livestock station in all these. I grew up through the system. And so I know Nigeria very well. But I know it even better when I joined politics.
Okay, we'll come to that. Now you left the civil service, I think around 1976, and set up on your own.
Yes.
Well, why? Because normally people like you who are well educated and climbing in the ranks will want to stay on and achieve maybe higher status in the civil service, become maybe direct permanent secretaries, ministers. But you left on your own.
I left because I want better opportunities than what the civil service can offer. It's very true, even in the civil service, there's only one step left for me to be to the top. So I want more challenges. My residency and travel to UK, where I traveled throughout the country, and then later to America, where, as I have told you, I visited 44 states. Then I saw tremendous opportunity for the private sector. Then when I came back, I resigned the civil service and ventured into the private sector. And I'm more than glad I did, because what they call wasted talent in the civil service. You have ideas, you want to do this, but unfortunately the system does not allow initiative to that extent. So I resigned and joined the private sector.
But many people will say the private sector is just as challenging. Industries don't seem to flourish in Nigeria. So what was your experience? I know you set up Lemaco, you were in all sorts of things, industries. What has been the experience? What have you learned from that? And what have you satisfied yourself in doing?
I think I learned everything that I did. The private sector is the place to be. Up to now, the private sector is still wide open. We have hardly scratched the surface, even in the private sector. But certainly it has more challenges. It has more, is what you build yourself, rather than the stereotypes civil service. I'm more than glad I did, because it really opened my eyes to tremendous possibilities in the private sector. Still is, because we are still not there. The country is still dying for industries. Even in agriculture, it has to be different from what we knew of agriculture, let alone in the wider industrial complex of the country. We are still importing more than 70% of what we use in Nigeria. So you can see the tremendous amount of opportunities and potential that private sector will provide.
Let's start with agriculture. People say, and you're an expert in that area, people say that commercial farming in Nigeria is still very at a poor level. It hasn't succeeded. Indeed, gentlemen farmers like you and others have not made a big success of it. Is that true?
Well, count me out, because I was the first in Nigeria to establish commercial farm in Nigeria, fully mechanized. From land clearing, I even have the largest company in land clearing at one time in Nigeria, up to planting, all mechanically, or up to harvesting. I was the first one to do it on my own, fully mechanized agriculture. So I succeeded from that point of view. Why I left it, I still maintain the two farms I have. I have the largest farms in northern Nigeria. One farm was 4,300 acres, and the other one was 5,300 acres. So I'm glad I opened the door for commercial agriculture. From that point of view, I would say I succeeded in doing it. Why I have failed, is the typical Nigerian scene. They stole me out of agriculture. Really is stealing on monumental scale. From the seeds you plant up to harvest or what you're going to harvest. I didn't even know, as I said, they are the largest farm in the whole northern region. They divert what you harvest even before it comes to your store. And they were taking all the tractors. I had 20 tractors at one time. They were giving it on hire without my knowledge, using my diesel and petrol and everything. So it's really stealing that made me. I still have the 2 farms. I still. But it's really a great pity they don't allow it to blossom to full potential. But I was very successful. I was doing 50, 60,000 bags of maize, rice, guinea corn, millet. There was nobody bigger than me in those days. So from that point of view, I think we thank Allah for all His mercies.
Is it the same problem in other industries? Because you are also an industrialist. You set up Lemarco, you set up chemical industries, you are into many things.
I set up 22 companies in various sectors of the economy. So Alhamdulillah, I have a bit of experience in industry as well, not only in agriculture. And it's the same thing that really brought a lot of them down. Stealing on monumental scale. They stole me blind. And it's still going on. With whatever little we have, they still manage to steal part of it up to tomorrow.
Which of these industries are still working?
Pardon?
Which of them are still working, still active?
Well, we still have 4 or 5. Alhamdulillah, we have to scale down because I think I grew up too quickly. As soon as I learn of one opportunity, I go there full blast. Then they want full blast to steal me blind. But Alhamdulillah, I have not done too badly at all.
How did you solve the problem of funding? Most people will say when you are starting a business, the challenge is capital. That's what young people hear. What was your experience? Was capital the most important factor for you to succeed?
It's very, very true. It's quite a struggle to get. I don't think there is one bank I didn't visit when I started. If I don't succeed in one, I move to the next one, double back. So it wasn't easy at all. Up to now, I would say the banks are really, both industrial banks and agricultural banks, are not forthcoming as they ought to, in my own opinion. The bureaucracy before you get any loan is unbelievable. Is unbelievable. You have to have the patience of Solomon or Job to be able to succeed, really. But you are determined to succeed, so you have to have tremendous amount of patience. There is not one bank in those days that I did not visit. I succeeded in some others I failed, but I was determined to succeed no matter what. And I think up to a point I have succeeded somewhat. I could have done a lot more if the capital was there.
Yeah. What are the risks of debt? People say, look, you should fear debt.
Death.
Debt.
Debt.
Yes.
Well, of course.
If you take money from the bank,
yes,
they will come calling.
What was the question?
I said, people say, why should weigh the risk of taking money from the banks because of the interest and the fact that if these industries don't do well, they come to you and no matter what, demand this money. Did you have a problem with debt?
Anybody in business has problem with debt with banks, but we managed to pay all. I don't owe 1 penny, or 1 naira, I should say. It's the lowest denomination now, isn't it?
Yes.
I repaid all the debts, all the loans I took, both agriculture and industrial. So fortunate, I can say I'm fortunate that what I still owe is 100% mine now. I have repaid all the debts. I had quite a struggle. I had sleepless nights. I worked 23 hours a day. But alhamdulillah, at the end of the day, I'm still intact.
We all know one of companies associated with you, but it's still there. In fact, it's expanding. You started from Kaduna, that's the Lema, the supermarket. Is that your business or maybe your wife's business?
No, my wife is doing it now. She bought me out.
Okay.
Because we had the Lema, we started in Kaduna.
Yes.
And then we had one in Funtua.
Yes.
And one in Kasana.
Right. And now you have another in Abuja.
Yes.
Yes.
She started down in Abuja.
Right. If I move from business to politics, which is it's as if you also move in that same way, after becoming a successful businessman, suddenly we had you venture into politics. With hindsight, do you think you would have done it again if you have a second chance?
To do what, the business?
To go into politics again. Was your venture in politics worth it?
Very much. You learn quite a lot. You learn life in politics. In business, they steal you blind. In politics, they steal you even more. Well, anybody who is patriotic cannot avoid politics. Because you do it with good intention all the while. You have so much is wrong, how you want to correct things is still ongoing. Because you learn every day. We have a long way to go. First and foremost is lack of justice, lack of the politicians are just as likely thieves as in industry. They want to cut corners, they steal you blind. It's terrible, but it's true.
But isn't the problem that you started at the top? You came into politics straight away wanting to be president, to run for president, which is a huge undertaking.
No, it wasn't for my capacity at all. I can be the president of the United States. I have the capacity. I have the confidence. I have the experience. I have what it takes, really, to change matters. That's why I went into politics.
Yes.
Because things were going haywire. Things were very, very... you see so many wrongs, and you want to right the wrongs. That's why I went into politics.
But were you there, did you then find yourself sort of spending money? Everybody who came to you wanted money. It's all about money. Isn't that really sort of discouraging?
It's not discouraging, it's the system. You can't fight the system. If you can't join them, they said, avoid them. So that's what I did. I was very careful on most things that I do. Of course, I didn't have all the experience when I started at all. I visited 450 local governments in this country, more than any other aspirant. 450. At that time, even the local government was 600. So I did more than 80% of the country at all. It's quite an experience. In fact, I didn't know Nigeria until I went into politics and started visiting not only state but local governments. I learned quite a lot. I'm still learning because Nigeria is a very complex country. You learn almost daily.
Yeah. Did you quantify the amount of money you spent? You ran for president twice, I believe, in NRC and also in ANPP.
Yeah.
Could you, is the kind of thing you do to quantify how much money you have spent in these ventures?
No, I don't do it. I put it beyond me. If you had to quantify, it will make you go mad. So I don't.
Are you disappointed with the kind of politics you see now happening and the governance?
It's more than disappointed, to say the least. Well, now there is nothing working anymore, anywhere in Nigeria today, as we used to have. The system has changed completely. Everywhere you go is money, money, money. People want to make money by hook or by crook. We become so money conscious that is really destroying our psyche. It's unbelievable. Whatever you touch, it has to do with money. That's not how things ought to be. By all means, you can't ignore money. You can't ignore money. But not to the extent that we do in Nigeria today. The fact is the system. If you don't have money, nobody respects you, even in your own household, even with your own brothers and sisters. If you don't have money in today's Nigeria, nobody pays attention to you at all. So that's why people are fighting tooth and nail to make money, no matter how corrupt the system. But fortunately, we still have a lot of people that are thoroughly honest in their dealings. And the few is what keeps on the country going.
That was the impression when you were a politician, a candidate, especially in the period of Abacha's rule, that you are close to the Abacha government. That indeed, as if they were encouraging you to become a candidate and become.
Who was encouraging me?
The Abacha government. Why were you close to Abacha personally?
Yes, he was a friend. We used to play tennis here in Kaduna. And one day, instead of 4 people, we were 3 that day. Then I saw Abacha. I didn't know him from Adam. I said, call that soldier to So fortunately, all the people here we were playing tennis with, like Mashadad Al-Hat, Abacha made him minister, like Gedad Idris, he became the secretary to the government, like David Sadoki, he became minister. So all of them benefited from that association. In fairness to Abacha, he offered me whatever I wanted. I was the one who didn't take it up. In the end, he said, please help us to establish, what do you call the thing that I was chairman? I worked in Agri Bank.
Yes.
As one of the project managers.
Yes.
But that was long before Abacha even.
Yes, okay, yes.
The name just escaped me. I was the first one to establish it.
Okay.
And it's still going
Not Operation Feed the Nation.
Huh?
Operation Feed the Nation.
No, not at all. It's the apex body that sees all about investment in Nigeria.
Okay. Okay. Nigeria Agri Investment.
The office is there opposite Hilton.
Okay. You also had a long-standing relationship with Buhari.
With who?
President Buhari, the current president. Buhari, the current president.
I didn't have any relationship with him. We know each other. We are from the same state. He was a regular visitor here through his nephew, Mama Daura. Maman Daura was my classmate. He was the one who first brought Buhari, but I never had anything to do with him or with his government.
But okay, now it's not something you could advise as an elder. Are you in a position? I mean, have you been put in a position?
Since he started, during the military regime, I saw him only once in official capacity. At that time, I was the vice president, Manufacturer Association of Nigeria. So it's in my own, in that capacity, that the system appointed me as one of the members to promote investment in Nigeria. So throughout his military, I saw him only once. And this time, as civilian, I didn't see him even once. I never had anything personal or official with him whatsoever. But we were friends because of his nephew, Mamandal. That's all.
One very significant thing about you, which has been mentioned in public, is that you are one of the most compliant people in paying taxes. The Minister of Tax.
Tax, yes.
The Minister of Finance, in those days, Mrs. Adeosun, and I think even the Governor of Kaduna State, said you have been consistent in paying your tax.
For 40 odd years.
Yes. Why is it a policy that you adopt which is personal? Because all around you, businesses are not paying tax.
They are not. It's what they call tax avoidance. As I told you, my father was an alkali. I saw people being prosecuted for tax, and in those days, on jungle, cattle tax. So I learned once you are not honest, you are likely to be prosecuted. So that's how I was brought up. That's why I'm tax compliance. In fact, I'm the highest taxpayer in Nigeria as a whole.
Right now?
Yes. Not the total amount, not bigger amount, but compliance, yes, proportionate. Alhamdulillah, honesty is the best policy. So
have you been rewarded for that? Has the system rewarded you for this civic responsibility?
They said thank you. I have not been rewarded at all, but at least I have been recognized as an honest person, which is the best more than anything, more than monetary thing.
When you became a presidential candidate, a lot became known about your life, one of which is that you are actually married to somebody who is not even a Nigerian.
To a foreigner.
Yes, a foreigner.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah, because it was the truth.
No, I know.
Yes.
I mean, how did you meet and marry?
It was my business trip to Brazil, and the people who invited me, I got to know them, their families, they got to know mine. So that's how we met.
And I can see she has become more or less a Nigerian now. She's been...
She's fully Nigerianized. She has Nigerian citizenship since then, of course.
How much traveling do you do? And which countries do you enjoy visiting in your long career?
Well, like I told you, I visited 44 states in the United States. I think I visited most of Europe. I visited most of the countries in the UK. I visited Australia twice, India, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia 50 times. So Alhamdulillah, it makes me see the world. That's what enhanced my experience, to see how things are being done differently from your own country. I'm very glad I did.
Which are your favorites?
Favorite countries? That's a good question. Well, there are many that are positive. Very little negative, really. I can't say that even country that is negative, they are all positive as far as I'm concerned, because it broadens your horizon. All without exception. I'm glad I visited them.
Besides traveling, I mean, since you enjoy it, what other hobbies and activities do you do?
Hobbies?
Yes, you know, things for pleasure beside work.
Golf. Well, I started with tennis. Then when my strength started to wane, I went to golf. So they are the two games that I play fervently. I enjoy golf even more than tennis, because tennis is more physical. Well, the best exercise of anything is golf. You walk 6 to 7 kilometers in a day. So I'm glad I did. That's what keeps me going. Except in the last 6 months, I have a problem with my big toe here and the big toe, small toe on this. So I can't even balance, let alone wear golf shoes. So I haven't played golf in the last 6 months or even more. And it refused to go. I visited all the hospitals in England and Dubai, but the problem still persists. But as soon as I get back, I will go back to golf, definitely. I enjoy it, and it's a good exercise.
How is your typical day like when you wake up? How do you spend a typical day now that you are more or less retired from active business?
Not more or less, I am retired. Well, I take it easy as a retired person. I don't double in business with all the activity I used to at all. I rely or I follow a little investment that I have. That's all. I monitor my investment. So that's what I do normally. Otherwise, I really take it easy. I sleep when I like, I wake up when I like. You know, given the religious hours that we have to do them compulsorily, of course.
Are there friends you see regularly? You have time, spend time with them up to now?
Pardon?
Are there friends that you see regularly? Friends that you see regularly?
Of course.
Share time with them?
Of course. There's always something, almost each week. Wedding ceremonies, death. You go almost at least once a week to some of these, well, I want to call them ceremonies. Sometimes two times, sometimes 3 times, even 4 times a week. There's always something to do, socially, that is.
If a young person were to ask you, to advise how to live a long and successful life like yours, what will you tell him to do and not to do?
Take it easy. Because that's what I did. I don't task myself beyond the limit. Of course, everybody wants to live well. I do all I can to try to live well, to live within my income, to maintain my health. That's why I do the sports. It's tremendous help in exercise. Try to do exercise no matter how little. It enhances your welfare, health welfare, very much so. I'm very glad I played golf until when my foot is hurt. That's really kept me going.
What about food?
Fun?
Food. Are there things
Food.
one should watch out? Yes, food. things to eat or not to eat?
Very much so. The root thing of my success health-wise, because fortunately I did animal science, which is almost the same as human. Human one is just more purified than animal. So I know what to eat, what to avoid. So I'm very careful on what I eat.
So what don't you eat?
What don't I eat?
Yes.
What is not eatable?
So the rule is to eat in moderation. Just eat what you want.
Not only in moderation, to eat the right type of food, whether it's carbohydrate, whether it's protein, whether it's vitamins, etc. It's good if you know the science, like I do. So eat, like you said, in moderation, but eat the right type of food as well, which I try to do.
Finally, let me ask you, what will you want to be remembered for? What contribution that have you made to this country that you think is unique?
I let posterity decide. You cannot say anything good or bad about yourself. Society are watching whatever people do, and let the society decide whether I have done good or otherwise. Alhamdulillah, I'm quite satisfied with the little contribution I made to the socio-economic development of this country.
Thank you, sir, for letting us into your home and life. And I hope viewers, you have taken a lesson or two from this interview with Alhaji Lema Jibril, the Dangian Kasana, somebody who has traversed many areas of national life and is still making his own contribution. Thank you, and see you another time.